It was a beautiful morning, the sun was just peeking over the city, people were getting up and preparing to do their duties, whether it was working, studying, or begging in the street. But for now we have to focus our attention on a certain room in a certain building. The abode was not at all ostentatious or opulent, it was rather simple, with a mirror on the wall, a simple nightstand with a lamp and a common alarm clock. On the other side a small television, directly in front of the bed. The bed was queen size. And lying on this is our protagonist. A blonde-haired man with short hair, an athletic body, and marks on his cheeks that look like mustaches. The young man was sleeping peacefully, but his sleep was interrupted because the sun's rays hit his face. And it is that seeing his newly open eyes makes you realize two things. 1. He was not yet fully awake because he still looked sleepy, and 2. He had blue eyes. But who is our protagonist? Let's not pretend, we already know who he is. And it's our blonde, overexploited by Fix favorite from all over the world, the great Naruto Uzumaki, alias Naruto the Panty-Wetter Uzumaki. Here we go again, the blonde sighed as he stood up. After Naruto bathed and dressed in a long trench coat that was brown on the outside, but orange on the inside, black pants and shoes of the same color. A long-sleeved white shirt with a small vest that didn't cover his arms and a black tie. Plus his haircut. It gave him an aura of maturity and seriousness. So Naruto went straight to the kitchen, passing through the living room where a gray and white cat could be seen. And a mouse with different shades of brown on its skin. They were both sitting on the couch watching the news. And in today's news, Princess Elsa of the Kingdom of Arendelles and King Arthur Pendragon of Far, Far Away, are about to finish their negotiations to sign a union treaty. On the other hand, the artist Chick Canario had great success with his most recent album. And its main song from the album, Vicky, Vicky. To this day he is breaking his own record. I like my white teeth and me better. Guys, let's eat, it's almost time to go, Naruto spoke, drawing the attention of his companions. Turning off the TV, the two got up and went to the dining room to eat their breakfast. So, how did you guys sleep? Naruto asked, pouring a cup of coffee. They both gave their thumbs up. After they finished their breakfast, which wasn't anything very fancy, just toast and eggs, they both got up and went to get dressed. And so Naruto turned to look in the direction of your screen. Oh, it's nice to see you again. I know, you're probably asking yourself a lot of questions right now. How did you get here? How did you meet Tom and Jerry? And how do you know we're watching/reading you? Well, let me tell you, you are perverts for spying on me. But that's not the point. The point is that I won't be able to answer your first question, and that's the way it comes. And Naruto had to interrupt his narration, because Tom and Jerry had finished changing. Tom wore a brown vest, but the inside was beige. He had a hat the same color as his vest, but it had a thin beige horizontal line down the middle. On the other hand, Jerry dressed similarly, except that his vest was gray and had a high white collar. And just like Tom, he had a hat the same color as his vest, only its horizontal line was bigger and white. True, I haven't told you how I got here yet. Well, the truth is that I don't even know, but to give a quick explanation. It turns out that Kaguya is a sore loser. And when Sasuke and I were about to seal it, she immolated herself as a Muslim. Yes, the damn unfortunate woman preferred to commit suicide than lose, but taking everyone with her in the process, thus generating an explosion that in theory should have killed me. But Kurama, trying to save me, expelled all of his chakra plus mine. It wasn't the best idea, because after doing that break up, let's say, between dimensions. Well, I don't know what happened. All I know is that I am falling, and in my fall, windows open to multiple realities. Well, inside I saw myself in different ways. Or I think they were versions of me. Well, one was a redhead who was sailing on a boat and was eating meat with a mini Kurama. I also saw a version of me living with some ponies that talked. And there was a very elegant version of me, with a bright red eye and standing in the middle of a coliseum. Finishing his story, he took his keys and finally left his apartment with his colleagues. He lived in an apartment building called Acme Acres within the Hannah neighborhood. And he saw one of his neighbors, Sam, a white sheepdog, who was built like a bear that walked on his hind legs. He had yellow fur and long red mop hair that covered his eyes, but that did not prevent him from having a good view. "Good morning, detective," the dog greeted with a nod. "Good morning, Sam. How are you feeling today?" The blonde replied with a smile. "I feel fine, detective, thanks for asking. Just another day with Ralph, you know how it is," Sam explained, referring to his job and his partner. "Yes, I still don't understand if Ralph works the same as you. Why don't he buy sheep meat instead of trying to steal one from you?" Naruto questioned, thinking about the illogical nature of the dynamic between the two of them. "That's one of my personal doubts too, detective. Maybe it's because of the routine. Sometimes Ralph thought that his partner was simply a masochist. Or he's just crazy," Naruto said honestly. "That is also another possibility, but regardless of why I do it, my duty is to take care of the flock." But they had to stop their talk, because Naruto raised his hand and stopped a porcelain plate that was flying towards him. "And we've already started," Sam would finish. And so on for two more. Tom would begin to catch all the plates while Jerry was putting them on the floor. Until finally the biggest prize arrived, as a teapot with coffee was caught by Tom. Just in time 2 glasses were caught by Naruto, who gave one to Sam. And after they had their cups, Tom served them coffee. And they took their first sip, only for Naruto to make a sour face. "Bleh, it lacks sugar." And just in time Jerry climbed onto Naruto's shoulder and caught the sugar bowl. So serving a little sugar to the blonde's coffee. "Perfect, thanks Jerry, but I feel like something is missing." "Did you bet everything on the horses?" a woman shouted, who was Naruto's next-door neighbor and in front of Sam, who continued throwing plates at her husband. Some break, as he throws them, and they fall into the marriage apartment. But those who fell outside, Sam and Naruto quickly caught them. "But Susie, dear," the guy tried to explain. "Here come the cakes," Naruto pointed out, dividing the incoming desserts. Taking 7 him and 3 Sam. And although they could continue for a while, it was already late and they had to continue on their way. "Thank you, Susie," Naruto thanked, placing the plates where they wouldn't break. "Every measly penny." "You're welcome, detective, in a stupid race. I swear that if this happens again I'm going to get divorced," the neighbor responded, alternating between shouting and waving. Already outside the building, Sam turned to look at Naruto as he got into his car. "Detective, don't you want me to take you to the office?" he offered the dog. Although kind, his offer was made from a car that seemed like the slightest breath of air would destroy it. "No thanks, Sam, but thanks for the offer. Please send my regards to Ralph." Naruto said goodbye, starting to walk. "Of course, have a good day, detective." And so the giant dog started his car and started his way to work. "Okay, guys, let's walk," Naruto called to Tom and Jerry, who were still watching the marital dispute through the window. And so they began their way to the McDuck and Associates offices. "Oh right, I haven't finished telling my story yet, right? Well, continuing, I kept falling for a while until a blue-haired guy saw me. All he did was laugh like a degenerate. What's weird about it all? While I continued falling, he was standing like it was nothing, then he just opened a portal and put me in it. I kept falling until I crashed on the outskirts of Toonopolis, the city I currently live in. The only good thing about that was that I met an old woman, a very good person, who took me to her house to take care of me. Turns out she was only known as Grandma Hannah, if she was one of the first inhabitants of Toonopolis, and that's why the street I live on is called that. Well, moving on. My story, she was also a private detective, and she was the one who took care of me during my recovery, and it is because of her that I now work as a detective too. Finishing his flashback, Naruto and his companions finally arrived at a tall building of about 25 floors. It was a rental place for freelancers, whether you were a massage therapist, a painter, or simply a writer. Anyone willing to pay the rent could have offices here. And he was on the 10th floor. He wanted to get the 9th, but a band already had it that was on tour, but they paid the rent to have the place when they rested. Opening the door, Naruto entered with his 2 companions. "Good morning, Mr. Naruto," a woman at the reception desk greeted. "What have I told you about telling me, sir, Valerie?" The blonde answered tiredly. "Don't let Monsieur do it," the lady mocked elegantly. Valerie was a beautiful woman, no one could deny that. She was a French woman who came to this city at the request of her uncle. The skunk Pepe Le Pew. How is it that Pepe is the uncle of a honey badger? It turns out that Pepe has a brother who is a honey badger and married Valerie's mother. People tend to be afraid of her, either because they think she will smell just as bad as her uncle or that she is a stalker just like him. But it turns out that she actually smells good, because she is a very neat and calm woman. "And then why do you keep doing it?" Naruto asked, walking up to the desk. "Because Monsieur, first of all I am a professional, and even if this is not my desired job, I will fulfill my duties," Valerie declared proudly. It turns out that Valerie is studying law. But he has not been able to find work for his area. That's why he is now working as a button. "Okay, I give up." "See you later, Valerie," the blonde denied, knowing that he would not win that argument. "See you later, Monsieur," Valerie smiled amused. And so, heading to the elevator, the three of them went up and closed the doors. Once inside, he pressed the button for the 10th floor. As they went up, his two companions gave him a long look. "That?" the blonde asked, raising an eyebrow. They just laughed to themselves as they denied, as if they knew something that Naruto knew. "Oh come on, leave me alone," he growled, annoyed by the cat and mouse attitude. "She and I are just friends, nothing more." Meanwhile the two just rolled their eyes. "Seriously, stop giving me that look." So the cat and the mouse just shook their heads, as their friend and companion. He was very naive about women and their intentions. Until the classic ding sounded, signaling that the elevator reached the 10th floor. So they left it and walked straight to the last door on the floor. Where do they work? In detective mangas. And taking out his key, he opened the door to his office. The interior was a large room, with a large desk, where he normally sits and rests his feet until a job comes his way. A giant blackboard attached to the left wall. The right side had a window, which overlooked the entire city and the chaos that filled it. Next to his desk were two pet beds, one for each of his companions. And they had a pool table right next to the entrance. Yes, this was Naruto's office, and he was happy with what he had. Thus letting his companions enter, he approaches his chair, where Naruto sits and raises his feet to lean on his desk. While Tom stood next to Naruto and Jerry at the desk. "Well, let's see what new requests have arrived," pressing the button on his landline. "You have 0 messages. Like my cell phone." Yes, that was not very encouraging. The boys got a little discouraged. Well, no one required their services. "Oh come on guys, cheer up," Naruto called, smiling. "At any moment we get an interesting case." "Yes, I know we haven't had exciting jobs lately, but give it time, you'll see, when you least expect it, we'll get the best case of our lives." Tock tock tock. Naruto had to stop his encouraging speech, because someone knocked on his door. "Tom, could you please?" Listening to Naruto, the cat opened the door, and then he appeared. Betty Boop, one of the most beautiful women in Toonopolis, with her big, expressive green eyes that are surrounded by long, dark eyelashes. She usually has short black hair, styled in a very elegant way. Her mouth is small and her lips are a bright, deep red. As for her body, she is slim and curvy, with a small waist and pronounced hips. Her current outfit is a small, sleeveless red dress that barely reaches her thighs and a pink feather scarf draped over her shoulders, making Tom and Jerry whistle when they see her. "Oh, thank you for the compliments, sweethearts. If you behave well, I promise to give you a juicy prize," the woman smiled mischievously. "It's a pleasure to meet you, Miss Boop," Naruto greeted respectfully. "Oh please, detective, call me Betty. I don't like formalities, especially with such an attractive man," the woman spoke in a sing-song tone. Naruto only blushed, because Betty's tone of voice was delicate, but flirtatious, making a strange combination that got under his skin. Toss, no offense to you, Miss Betty, but why have you come?" the blonde asked, moving away from the lady a little. I'm sure this is not a merely pleasant visit. You're right about that, dear, but if I were you, I would remember that pleasure can be found anywhere. I would say this by looking at Naruto from top to bottom. Please, Miss Betty, why did you come? Naruto insisted, uncomfortable and blushing. Oh right, Mr. Detective, I need your services. I have suffered a robbery. He would say it dramatically while hugging Naruto and clinging to his chest, overacting a little. And how do you know, Miss Betty, that it was a robbery and not that you lost that object? Dear detective, do you seriously think I would come here if I wasn't sure I was robbed? I didn't mean to offend you, but this has happened before. The blonde apologized. People who hire my services, and it turns out that that stolen object was only behind a sink, under a sofa, etc. Oh, I understand, detective, but I can assure you that this was a robbery. Then please, describe to me facts of the robbery, Naruto asked, taking out his notebook to write down. Well, it all started the night before. I went to the club where I worked to do my shows. After the night was over I headed home. However, when I got to my apartment, everything was upside down. The cushions on my sofa were thrown everywhere, the doors were open, my cupboards and drawers were open and lying around. It was terrifying. After seeing that scene I called the police. Betty finished narrating with a hand on her face and a dramatic. And I imagine the police are doing their job. No. What, how could you not? No, detective, the lady sobbed while Jerry offered her some tissues. After the police arrived, they started looking through my things, but I don't know, they stole almost nothing. It was just an object, and that's why my case is not on their priority list. And could you know what that object that was stolen from you is? That the police don't care about you, but that you seem to appreciate so much. It was my first pearl necklace, Betty declared, showing a photo of herself with said necklace around her neck. On a monetary level it is a bargain, it is worth less than $200, but on a personal level its value is immeasurable. Well, it was with that necklace that I started my career and took off to success. At this point, the woman was letting out small tears, but this time not in a dramatic way. That's why I ask you, Mr. Detective, to find that necklace. It is my most prized possession. Naruto just nodded, understanding what she wanted to tell him. Well, his most valuable possession for him was a photo where he, Tsunade and Jiraiya were. After he returned from his training trip, one of the only things he had left of his old world. I understand, Miss Betty, please direct the way to your apartment. First I have to inspect the crime scene. I hope you don't mind if I take you in my detective car. Betty smiled a little more cheerfully. Of course not. You heard, guys. We're leaving. So the three followed Betty. But not before closing the office and changing the sign from open to closed. They went down to the reception, passing by Valerie. Valerie, if they call me or someone comes looking for me, tell them I'm out, Naruto asked, stopping for a moment. I understand, mon cher. Anything else? No, thanks, Valerie. And so they left the building, following Betty to the parking lot where her car was, a Mercedes-Benz SL-Class convertible. Come on, guys. Called the lady, starting the engine. Whistle, you really have style, don't you, Miss Betty? Oh please, detective, happening to flatter me, I'm just a simple woman with simple tastes. And so Naruto got into the passenger seat, while Tom and Jerry sat in the back seats. The walk wasn't that long, since the building where Naruto's offices were located was near the center of the city, not far from where Betty lives. Hotel Single Star. The building where Betty Boop lived is tall and quite luxurious. It has twice as many floors as Naruto's office, as it was at least 50 floors. Here he is, a detective. Please follow me. Betty led the others through the reception, which looked luxurious. It had a red velvet carpet, giant lamps hanging from the ceiling, and a crystal-clear water fountain attached to the right wall of the building. On the right side was the hotel reception where a man was. Brown hair, dressed in red, with gold buttons. Next to the man was a dachshund. Oh, Miss Betty, she's back, and I see that she's accompanied, the bellman would say in amazement, because despite her flirtatious personality, Betty is actually a little shy with people and doesn't tend to bring anyone to her home. Excuse me, young man, but who is this? You? "Oh, nice to meet you, Naruto Uzumaki, private detective. These two are my companions Tom and Jerry," he would say, pointing to the cat and mouse, who extend their hand to greet the bellman. "The pleasure's mine, Mr. Uzumaki. I'm the bellhop," he would say while squeezing the cat and mouse's hand. "I imagine they came because of the robbery that Miss Boop suffered last night." "Exactly. If you could give us your testimony of the events," I would say while Jerry takes out a notepad and a pencil, normal size, but due to their size they look gigantic. Jerry always copies the testimonies and Naruto asks the questions. "Well, the truth is that nothing suspicious happened last night, as far as I remember. No packages arrived, nor were there visitors. In fact, it was a typical quiet night, so I really can't imagine how they broke into him," I would say, confused by the events of last night. "Does this building have security cameras?" Naruto asked, looking at the ceiling and walls. "Actually yes, we have the latest generation cameras. After all, this is one of the most exclusive hotels in Toonopolis," the bellboy explained proudly. "There are 4 cameras for the reception and 2 for each floor, and the rooms are clean and it is up to each tenant to decide to put their own." "All right, Tom, go to the control room and check the cameras for any errors or discrepancies," Naruto ordered. Tom just gave a military salute and followed the bellboy. Before starting his detective agency, Naruto dedicated himself to learning the strengths and weaknesses of his colleagues. It turns out that Tom is a genius with everything related to computers, while Jerry is always the one who helps him review crime scenes, because thanks to his size he can see details that one would normally miss. "Okay, Jerry, let's go." So the two followed Betty to the elevator, where she touched the 43rd floor, and so they began to go up. Ding was the sound that indicated arrival at the desired floor. Thus the group of 3 left the elevator, heading to the 4th door of the lobby. The rooms were arranged alphabetically next to the floor number. A clear example was Betty's apartment, which was 43D. Heading to the apartment, where Betty, using her personal key, opened her apartment. Betty Boop's apartment 9:30 Betty's apartment was luxurious, but what could you expect? This was the single-star hotel, not just any hotel, no. One of the most important hotels, if not the most important in Toonopolis. Well, it was where all the stars of the old era lived, well, the lonely ones who debuted alone and were left alone. If normally a series had enough success or progress and they added more characters, they were given a personal neighborhood. But that didn't matter now. What does matter is finding clues to what happened. "Miss Betty, please tell me, where did you keep your pearl necklace?" Well, he needed all the information possible to be able to solve the case. "Of course, detective, my necklace was in a safe, behind that painting," pointing towards a painting of a beautiful sunrise, where you can see the sun rising behind some mountains, illuminating a lake, where the sun and the mountains they ripple due to the shape of the water. "That painting was a gift from my friend Coco. Poor thing, he keeps trying to make someone laugh, but he still can't. But he still doesn't give up, and that's why I admire him so much." "I understand. Then I am going to treat that painting very carefully, Miss Betty," and true to his word, Naruto took the painting and placed it on the glass table, which he had in the living room. "Well, show me what you have to offer," he said while he put on some latex gloves and took out smaller ones for Jerry. "So what time did you get back to your apartment, Miss Betty?" I would ask while checking the safe, in case the lock was forced, had a false bottom or any other trick. I don't remember the exact time, detective, but I usually arrive at my apartment between 1 a.m. and 2 a.m. Betty was struggling to remember more details of that night, while Naruto continued searching inside the apartment. Tock tock tock. Someone was knocking on the door, and Betty, seeing that Naruto and Jerry were busy, went to open the door herself, finding Tom, who greeted her by raising his hat. "Oh dear, Naruto, Tom is back," she would express it, as happy to see the cat, and despite this situation, she still had the way of joking while being herself. "Tom, tell me, what did you find?" Tom just shook his head, because the security cameras couldn't record anything out of the ordinary. "I understand. Did you keep a copy?" Tom nodded and showed him a USB. "Well done. Any opinions of your own?" Tom only pointed to the hallway. He disguised himself as a thief and pretended to sneak in, and then denied it with an X of his arms. "So they didn't enter through the hallway?" "Are you sure?" Tom just nodded and pointed to the USB, giving an OK sign. To imply that the video was fine and without anything suspicious. Well, take these gloves and help look for clues, so giving him the same latex gloves. Mr. Detective, can I ask you a question? You've already done it, but I can answer another one later, I would say it joking with Betty. Ha ha ha, you are very funny, Mr. Detective, but you seem to trust those two and their abilities too much. Why? It was a very honest one of hers. Do you mean the boys? Betty just nodded. So let me ask you a question of my own. Do you know why almost no one hires us? Betty shook her head. Because of that same thought. People see me and have confidence in my abilities, because I was taught by Hannah, one of the best detectives in the world, but they see Tom and Jerry and they automatically lose that confidence, believing that those two will destroy everything and only make the situation worse. And believe me, I know where those comments come from. I also know their past. Both Cat and Mouse lowered their heads, because it is their fault that Naruto was not moving forward, but that they should look at it again, not that I care. What if they failed in the past? Does that define who they are today? No, they themselves define their future, and you wonder why do I trust them? That has a simple answer. Because they are my dear companions, and I will never leave them behind. I would say it with a giant smile. Tom and Jerry could only be moved by those words of trust in them, and they were not going to disappoint Naruto. On the other hand, Betty had her eyes open, because those words reached the deepest part of her being. Well, there was a time, before she became famous, that she almost gave up on being an artist. No one trusted her and they tried to take advantage of her, believing that being naive she was easy to manipulate, and many times she lacked those words of encouragement, of knowing that no matter how many times you fail and fall, you will always have someone there for you, supporting you no matter what. You are very sweet, darling. Has anyone ever told you that? Betty was really starting to like Naruto. Grandma Hannah has actually told me that many times. Ha ha ha. Naruto really appreciated that woman a lot, because despite not owing her anything and not needing anything in return, she took care of him and guided him in this new world, as if he really were his grandson. Then they haven't told you enough. I would talk trying to flirt with Naruto. Oh, thank you very much. Then Naruto would respond simply, being the dense idiot that he is, not realizing that they were flirting with him. Whistle. Naruto looked towards where the whistle was coming from and saw Jerry on the windowsill. What? Jerry just motioned for him to come closer and, paying attention to his partner, he approached. Good boy, what did you find? Jerry just moved the curtain to get a closer look at, and bingo. The windowsill is damaged, which means Tom was right when he said the thief didn't come in through the door. But to confirm suspicions. Miss Betty, was this window still damaged last night when you went to your performance? No, detective, the night of the robbery I was fine. I remember that very well, because that same night I closed that window. She was sure of what she said, because during the day she opened the windows to have natural ventilation. Well done, Jerry, we finally found the first real clue and answered the first of many questions. Where does our thief come in? Now the question is how. I would express my excitement for this new event. What do you mean by like? Detective, I would express with doubt. That's easy to answer if you answer my next question. Where do we live? I would say I'm still excited. In Toonopolis, Mr. Detective, happy to be useful. I don't care if this later bites me in the butt, but, elemental, my dear Betty. We live in Toonopolis, a place where there are many different people, a little normal like you or me, more incredible like Tom and Jerry, or even more fantastic like dragons and fairies. I would be explaining to Betty, until she herself got the idea. So the thief could have been anything from a normal person to a super evil genius or a bird, Betty would say, happy to have understood that. Exactly. Then under that logic, if we discover how the thief got in, we can reduce our list of suspects. And with that he finished his thought, and he already thought of how to solve it. Guys, we're going to the terrace. He would talk while walking out, and the boys followed Naruto terrified, since his ideas were almost always dangerous for anyone, plus Tom did not have very good memories related to high areas. _single star hotel terrace 10:30 am _. The terrace of the hotel was simple. By standards of this type of hotel, it had a water tank measuring 5 m high and 15 m wide, a landing pad for helicopters. The entrance and exit were the same, a small elevator for about 4 people. But this time there were only 3, being the same one with his companions. So heading to the south side, which is where Betty's window is located, summoning a musket and a rope, he put the musket on the roof and nailed it well so that it does not move, arranging the rope so that it does not come loose. Finishing adjusting the details to avoid accidents, Tom dressed in a climbing suit, consisting of black shorts that reached to his knees, a flannel of the same color, dark glasses and a microphone with a headset, and lastly a harness for his security. Tom secured his harness to the musket and, giving the signal, began to descend the building. Well, while Tom goes down the building and finds a clue, why don't I continue telling you my story? Well, where had I been? Oh, I remembered. Well, after starting my agency, I met the guys, and thanks to them too I learned some laws that are stronger in Toonopolis but also affect everyone to a greater or lesser extent. These laws are: 1. Be nice to people but always be prepared to have a fight. 2. This world does not respect the laws of the universe as long as it is funny. What I mean is that you can throw a building at a person and while laughing nothing bad will happen. Sadly, I do not have that ability. When he finished explaining the first 2 laws of this world, Tom returned to the roof. Well, what did you find? Tom only took out a black feather. So our thief is a bird. Tom nodded in confirmation. But how do we know if he didn't climb the building? Tom mimed, implying that no footprints were found throughout the building. Exactly, birds don't have footprints, so what information do we have that they didn't scale the building? Jerry whistled to get attention. What? Jerry pointed to the floor and Naruto took a closer look at it and understood what Jerry meant. The floor only had some small holes and that was where he put the hooks. Well done guys, now we're going to the office. I would speak with a smile. Well, they have already started to make progress and I have to make a call. Detective Mangas 12 p.m. You can see the 3 of them arrive at the office, heading to the whiteboard and starting to organize the clues they have so far. Well then, what information do we have? He said while looking at the blackboard and the clues they had on it, joining them all with a red thread. So the information we have for now is that our thief flies. He is a bird with black plumage and he only stole the pearl necklace. Tock tock tock. Come in. The person who knocked on the door was Valerie. Mon cher, you received an envelope from Captain Jacques, he said as he entered the office and handed the envelope to Naruto. Thank you Valerie, this is the report of Miss Betty's robbery. I would say happy and grateful to the captain, otherwise this case would be more difficult. Oh mon cher, you're already calling Miss Boop by her name. You're being unfaithful to me sob and I got married full of hopes. Valerie was crying a few tears for Naruto's betrayal. Tom and Jerry only looked at Naruto badly for making Valerie cry. Naruto didn't know what to do to solve this problem and just did the first thing that came to mind. And that was hugging Valerie and comforting her by saying some words that could very well either condemn him or give him a good future. No! I would never betray you Valerie, I am your mon cher and you are ma bien-aimée. And know that this will be forever. As he spoke he approached and hugged Valerie from behind. How do you think I would hurt you? Furthermore, the relationship with Miss Betty is only work-related, however our relationship is deeper than the mountains and higher than the sea. Oh mon cher, how can I not love you if you say those words to me? She would say it while she gets closer to Naruto and puts her hand on Naruto's face and caresses his face, while he continues hugging her from behind. Both cat and mouse took out a sign that said 10 points, because their friend not only saved the situation, but even improved it. I hope we can stay in this position forever mon cher, but we have to go back to work, you to investigate and I say to take care of the reception. I wish I could get a case so I could act. Valerie was legally already a graduate of her university but she needed to have her first trial and take it to the end. She has never had the luck to do it because she got nervous and her clients preferred to hire another lawyer. Don't worry Valerie, I'm sure you'll have that opportunity soon. Just give it time and you'll see that one day everyone will want you to defend them. Naruto knew that Valerie was a good lawyer, but he felt nervous because he didn't know what to do and those nerves came from being able to fail. Thank you mon cher, but I have to go back to work. While she finally separated from the hug, I'm going to ask for Chinese food to be brought, and she was doing this favor because when the boys get deeply involved in a case they don't eat because I forgot to ask for it. Thank you Valerie, Te amo, Naruto said goodbye, still in his gooey state. Me too, mon cher, me too. When he finally left the office, Naruto took out the police report and put it on the table to read it together to the boys. Night, April 14, 2024. Time 3:04 a.m. According to the information collected by the officers at the scene of the robbery, it is theorized that the thief only wanted to steal that specific pearl necklace, because despite the apartment being disorganized, with pictures moved from their place, especially the one in the victim's personal room, no fingerprints were found, but small black feathers were found in the safes, since it seems that there were several inside the premises, and despite all of them being forced, it does not seem that anything else was stolen. Why did a thief, despite finding gems, money and other valuables, only steal a necklace with no considerable monetary value? Was this theft planned? According to my theories, it is yes, but since the stolen object is not that important, I will put this case as secondary, because there is something else that worries me. Lately the villain's neighborhood has been very upset and I don't like where it may be heading. After finishing reading Naruto, the villainous neighborhood is where the worst antagonists of Toonopolis normally live, and if that neighborhood gets too upset there could be too much rioting throughout the city, but what could upset everyone so much? That neighborhood? Another turf war? He had to shake his head. That was a thought for another time. Right now he has to focus on the case in front of him. Well then, thanks to this we know new things. Cat and Mouse only looked at Naruto confused. Really? They continued with the same look at Naruto. Sigh. Well, the report gave us basic information and confirmed what we already had, for example the fact that the thief has black feathers, that he was only looking to steal that necklace, and that the thief did not know where the safe with the necklace was, so the mastermind did not know where the necklace was, but he did know what it was specifically. The two just looked at each other and saw Naruto asking how. According to the report, there was more jewelry inside the other safes, and believing that those safes also had necklaces tells us one thing, but not just anyone was taken, but a specific one, which means that the thief knows Betty well enough to recognize the necklace, but not to know where the box was where he kept it. The boys nodded, understanding where Naruto was going with this, but that only narrowed their list, but they still didn't know who was guilty. Tock tock tock. Tom, like this morning, opened the door and there was a young woman of about 15 years old dressed as a delivery girl, and she was looking at her phone while talking. Yes, food for a certain Naruto. She looked disinterested in her job, as if she didn't care about losing it. My name is Naruto no Naruto. I try to correct the girl, believing that she made a mistake by accident. PFT, however old, it's $3.99. Why is it so cheap? Normally they are $7.34. What do I know, old man, just give me my money so I can leave. Naruto, fed up with that, gave him the right amount of money. No tip, seriously? Apart from being old, stingy, Naruto just closed the door in her face. He couldn't put up with that stuck-up brat. Afterwards he began to eat his food with his companions. After finishing eating, they threw the disposable plates into the trash and began to organize the evidence with the new information they had. 1. The thief was a bird with black feathers. 2. I knew what object to steal, but not where it was stored. 3. He flew to the apartment. 4. I don't steal anything from the apartment anymore. Now new questions were opened and old ones still remained. Why that necklace? Why not something more valuable? Is there a mastermind? And if so, who? Why? And lastly, did you know Betty or did you study her? Naruto still had many questions and had no way to answer them all. So there was only one way to answer that question. Hotel *star 2:30 p.m. Returning to the hotel, Naruto went to the doorman. Oh, Mr. Detective, you're back. Are you coming to see Miss Betty? That's right, I need to ask you some personal questions. I regret to inform you that Miss Betty went out and said she would return at 6. Naruto frowned, but it didn't matter. If he couldn't get Betty, he would try to get her thief. The brothers Kratz animal shelter 3 p.m. Naruto headed towards where it was safest to confirm which bird the feathers belonged to. The refuge of the Krat brothers, 2 of the best adventurers in the world, and talking about them. Be careful down The three heard that scream, but it was too late because a giant metal box fell on top of them. Naruto grabbed the two of them and boom, the box ended up falling, crushing our protagonists. "Brother, we just crushed someone by accident." The one who spoke was Chris Kratt. Chris is a young man of average height. He is shorter than his older brother, Martin, with a larger body, tan skin, brown eyes, and dark brown hair with spiky bangs. His usual clothing consists of khaki shorts, hiking boots, a white t-shirt and a green quarter zip and black stripes on the sides, with the sleeves rolled up. He usually wears his animal power suit over this outfit. "I know, quickly go look for the gorilla power discs." The other was Martin Kratt. Martin is a young man of slightly above average height, with a larger body, blue eyes, tan skin and sandy blonde hair with the locks visible. He usually wears hiking boots, khaki shorts, and a blue jacket with the zipper closed almost all the way and black stripes along the sides with the sleeves rolled up, along with his animal power suit. "It's not necessary," the voice came from the metal box, from which the three walked out, crossing the metal as if nothing had happened. That was close, and it was true. A little more and they were crushed. "Wayo," that was said by the two brothers. Despite living in Toonopolis, it was not normal to find people with the ability to transfer objects without being a ghost. It is with pleasure that I introduce myself. I am Naruto Uzumaki and I am a private detective. These two are my companions Tom and Jerry. The two greeted the brothers. "Oh, nice to meet you. I'm Martine and this is my brother Chris. We are the ones who run the shelter." He would say it while extending his hand towards Naruto and he himself returning the greeting. "Nice to meet you. I'm Chris." As my brother said before, we are the ones who run the shelter, but what does a detective want with us? "I understand your doubt, but recently there was a robbery and we suspect that the perpetrator was a bird, but we are afraid of making a mistake or if we happen to spend all day looking for the correct bird, then if you could do me the favor of checking this feather," showing the black feather inside a plastic evidence bag. "Of course, but we would have to take the pen and manipulate it. Doesn't that bother you?" Chris. No way, I just need it in good condition." "Well, please follow us." Martin. "Shouldn't they move that container?" "Nah, now Jimmy will take care of it later." Martin would say it carefree. "Okay," with a drop of sweat. As they walked throughout the shelter they saw all kinds of animals, from simple dogs to dangerous lions and incredible giant monkeys, and they followed the path towards the back of the shelter, passing through a drop-down door. "Welcome to Tortuga." It is the ship of the Kratt team and Aviva makes its inventions with Martin, Chris, Koki and Jimmy Z. It was manufactured by Gaia in the city of Batumi, Georgia, for the Kratt brothers. The one who welcomed was Martin. Aviva. That? Aviva is a young woman of tall stature. She has thick dark brown hair that is always tied in a ponytail, green eyes, with a slight brown tint, and olive skin. He usually wears a purple shirt and a yellow jacket with a blue stripe running down both sleeves, blue jeans held up by a black belt with a stud, worn twisted around the waist, and purple and white Converse sneakers. "We need your help." This time the one who spoke was Chris. "In what?" "We need you to scan this feather to find out what bird it comes from," said Chris, showing the feather inside a bag. "Well, follow me." "And who are they?" He would say it while driving through Tortuga to the laboratory. "Nice to meet you, Naruto Uzumaki, private detective. I am investigating a case and my partner and I believe that the possible thief was a bird." "I understand. Give me that pen to analyze it." So she took the pen from Martin's hands to start analyzing it. 5 minutes later. "Well, after analyzing the feather and making comparisons with genetic groups, I can tell you that this feather belongs to a Corvus corax or large crow. After that I am lost." Aviva would explain everything to Naruto. "Thank you very much, Avi. If you ever need to solve a case, call me and I will gladly give you a discount." He said it while giving him a business card. "Heh, I'll keep it in mind, Naruto." I would say it gratefully, because you don't know when it could be useful. Detective Mangas 3 p.m. Well, we have new information, so we can remove other black-feathered birds from the list. Naruto was sitting in his chair, while Jerry played pool alone and Tom organized the blackboard with the new information gathered, but we still have a lot to do. Information, and we have a question: where to find the crow? Just when he finished his monologue, Jerry accidentally threw the black ball at Naruto's face, and out of pure instinct he caught the ball before it hurt him. Deciding to get up and put the ball back on the table, he took out a pool stick and arranged everything to play a game with the mouse, and so the game began. At the beginning he was losing, but little by little he improved until he turned the game around and ended up winning by 1 point. Jerry hung his head, because he lost. How? Tom just laughed at his friend, because every time they played he lost, and Jerry was about to attack Tom. But when he jumped he was paralyzed in the air and was suddenly pulled towards Naruto, causing him to crash against his chest, and then fall to the table. Guys, an idea occurred to me. The two of them got nervous because of Naruto's smile, because it did not bode well, but we will have to wait until night. Hotel Single Star, 6 p.m. The boys returned to the hotel to look for Betty and ask them a few questions. At the entrance, as always, was the bellman, diligently doing his job with his dachshund. "Oh detective, Miss Boop is in her apartment. I'm telling her that you're going up." I speak in a formal and regal manner. "Thank you very much," and so they headed towards the elevator to get there, to go up to the 43rd floor. Ding, it was the noise of the elevator and the three leaving, heading towards Betty's door, where before Naruto knocked on the door it was opened by a clown, dressed in black and white. Naruto just raised an eyebrow, wondering who he was. "Nice to meet you, I'm Coco." Naruto just nodded. He is one of Betty's oldest friends and he was the one who gave her the painting. "Likewise Naruto Uzumaki, I come to see Miss Betty." "Oh, you're the detective she hired, right?" "Yes, please allow me to come in." "Sure, excuse me." Thus the group of three passed by the clown, who followed them closely, to see Betty sitting in the living room drinking some hot tea, with a calm smile. "Oh, Mr. Detective, you're back." "Yes, Miss Betty, I came back to ask you some questions." "Because?" "Thanks to a certain contact I found very important information and I need you to help me." "Sure, ask whatever you want then." Naruto just looked at Coco and then at Betty, giving a clear question. Did she trust him? "Mr. Detective, don't worry about Coco, he is my best friend and I trust him with all my being." "Yes, best friend," sighed Naruto, and the boys grimaced, because even the dense Naruto realized that Coco wanted something more with Betty. "Okay, so Miss Betty, give me a list of people close to you who specifically know about the necklace that was stolen from you, but don't know where you keep it." "Why such a specific list, Detective?" "My colleagues and I have the suspicion that someone from his close circle, but not internal, was the mastermind behind the robbery." "And what caused you that suspicion, Mr. Detective?" This time the one who spoke was Coco. He knew that Betty's necklace was stolen, but he never expected the detective he hired to come to that conclusion. "According to the police report, the only thing stolen was specifically that necklace, and I am sure that Miss Betty had much more valuable jewelry and clothing stored. Am I wrong?" "You are not wrong, Mr. Detective. I have different necklaces and objects of greater monetary value, but how are you sure that the thief did not know specifically where the necklace was?" "The police report said that the thief opened the other safes, since black feathers were found in all of them, but despite that, he did not steal anything else, not money or anything of greater value, but he searched all the boxes until he found out that specifically had your necklace." Betty and Coco remained silent, thinking about Naruto's words. The first to speak was Coco. "He is very good." He was amazed by how efficient and fast Naruto was, because just this morning he started investigating the case and already had a profile of the suspects. "That's why I hired him, dear Coco. He was trained by Hannah herself. As her heir you can't expect anything less." Coco opened her eyes in amazement, because Hannah was and continues to be one of the best detectives in the world. Even Sherlock Holmes hailed her as a woman worthy of the title of the best detective in the world, although that title still belongs to Holmes, but he almost lost it with her, and if it weren't for her retreat to explore the world, maybe she would have gotten it. "Well, I can give you a list of names tomorrow, because right now I have to go to the club where I work, Mr. Detective. My show starts earlier today, because a new star is going to see it. Maybe you should go." I would say it excited that Naruto see her act. "Actually, I was planning to go today." "Seriously, why?" "Look for clues, In nightclubs it is common to always hear information that is useful for the case, either because they are drunk or distracted talking. Oh, but wouldn't it be strange if the thief came to the club to see me perform? Not really, and even less so tonight. If a new star appears tonight it will be busier, which means that tonight it is more possible to get information. Wow, I didn't know that. I would say it astonished, because I never expected that to happen commonly. Is that why many police officers go at night? Well, without further ado, I'll say goodbye. I have to go run some errands. Guys, let's go. Tom and Jerry raised their hats in dismissal. See you later, detective. The farewell came from Betty and Coco. _McDuck and Associates 6:30 p.m. Naruto and company arrived at the lobby of the building where Valerie was storing his things, to change with the night porter. Valerie, do you want to go on a date? Naruto offered simply, because his idea was to hide, so that it would not be suspicious that he was around. Oh mon cher, I feel flattered. But why this sudden interest in a date? Of course I want to go, but I want to know the reason. It was true that Valerie liked Naruto and knew that the attraction was mutual. But Naruto was never expected to be the first to take a step. Miss Betty invited me to see a performance by a new artist who is going to come out today, and I wanted to invite you, to distract us for a while. Are we really just going on a date, or do you have something hidden, mon cher? What do you think, Valerie? We're just going on a date. Valerie just raised an eyebrow. Sigh. Well, I'm going to investigate, and to avoid suspicions about me I want to make an appointment. He admitted defeat. Okay mon cher, I'm going to accompany you, but don't lie to me again about wanting to go out with me. You don't have to pretend that you really want to go out with me. No. Valerie, I'm not lying to you. I really want to go on a date with you. It's just that this opportunity arose and I took advantage of it. Naruto would be desperate, because he didn't want Valerie to feel used. Valerie just gave a happy smile. Okay mon cher, I'm going to accept the date, but in exchange I want us to have a real date later, without having to have your job involved. I would say that, because even though he likes Naruto, he doesn't think be used. Naruto only put on a calmer look and approached Valerie, gently taking her face so that she could look him in the eyes. Using a calm voice, he spoke to Valerie. I promise you, ma bien-aimée, after solving this case I'm going to take you to a date worthy of you and our love. Valerie just hugged Naruto, putting her head in his chest. I love you mon cher. Me too mon amour. Valerie only opened his eyes because of Naruto's words, because he could feel the truth behind them, and he could only blush when the blonde began to caress his face, as if it were the most beautiful flower in the world, and unconsciously they began to bring their faces closer, about to kiss. Whistle. Naruto and Valerie were taken out of their moment by the whistle of Jerry, who was looking at the two blushing next to Tom, who had a camera recording the entire scene. The two only managed to blush. The two forgot that they had an audience. Toss. Well, guys, let's not go to our apartment to change and get ready. Community residence building 7 p.m. Naruto department. As soon as he entered the apartment, Naruto went into the bathroom to take a shower to get rid of the bad smell he had from walking all over Toonopolis. Maybe he should save up to buy a car. That was a thought for later. Once he had finished his shower, he left it to get dressed. Meanwhile Tom also went in to bathe with Jerry. Since they are animals and are always naked from the waist down, they do not feel ashamed for that act. Naruto left the room dressed in fog gray jeans, a sea blue flannel, and a waterproof leather jacket. Meanwhile, the cat and mouse were watching TV, but were interrupted by Naruto, who spoke to them. What do you think they do? The two of them looked at each other and gave a look of not understanding. You two get dressed too. I have a secondary mission for you. They just continued looking at Naruto, waiting to hear what they had to do. While I investigate Betty's club, you will go to Wild Nights, to look for our thieving crow. Now understanding where he was going, they went to put on shirts so they could go. Ring. Naruto answered the call from the department phone. Hello. Naruto, my child, how long? Grandma Hannah. If Naruto is me, I haven't died yet. It's a pleasure talking to you, Grandma, and it's not that I don't enjoy your calls. But why? It's not obvious to greet you. Naruto just narrowed his eyes. He didn't like something underscore. How did you find out, underscore? Underscore jjjjjj, it seems like I taught you well, but you didn't learn all my tricks underscore. Sigh underscore yes, I see that, but you still haven't answered my question. Why are you calling, underscore? Underscore it's to wish you luck with your date and give you some advice. Enjoy that night darling underscore. Naruto just smiled gratefully underscore. Thank you grandma underscore. And so on the other side of the line they hung up. Naruto could only shake his head, because despite everything the old woman continues to take care of him. Guys, are you ready yet? His response was to see the two go out with a disco aesthetic and he could only raise an eyebrow and Jerry gave him a brochure. Disco Wednesday. Don't miss this opportunity to relive the 80s. Naruto just nodded after reading it. He already understood the because of his clothing. Outside the building the boys separated and each one went their own way. Naruto night. Underscore club the old glories 8:30 p.m. underscore. Naruto arrived just in time, as Valerie was also arriving. She was dressed in short shorts that reached a little below her thighs, a shirt that showed off her flat stomach with feminine abs and a bit of exposed cleavage. She had a little makeup that enhanced her natural beauty. Wayo, ma bien Amy, you look beautiful. Naruto would speak with such honesty that it would make Valerie blush. Thank you mon cher, you are handsome too. Valerie was telling the truth, he looked good in those clothes. Shall we go in? He said, stretching out his hand towards Valerie and she took the hand herself. Once inside the club they saw tables arranged neatly so that everyone who sat could enjoy the show, a drinks bar on the right side of the club and in the front was the stage where the artists do their shows. Naruto would take a table in the middle of the club so he could listen to any slips or important information. After being seated, a local waiter approached them, where he gave them a menu with their drinks. Where he and Valerie ordered a cocktail. While they were having their drink, a man dressed in a suit came up to welcome and give the itinerary of the night, where first Betty was going to perform singing along with Coco playing the piano, then the new star was going to make an appearance and lastly he was going to be a free stage for anyone to get up and sing. And without further ado, the beautiful, the elegant, the authentic, Betty Boop Betty came out in a red dress that barely reached her thighs, with some silver earrings, but without a necklace. Which was strange since I always went out with one. Coco came out next to Betty, still dressed as a clown, and sat at the piano on top of the stage. After Betty got in front of the microphone, Coco started playing the piano and Betty started singing. Musical note: some girls keep their sweeties guessing. But I am different, I'm confessing. That I'm crazy over you. Oh, I admit that you're my big moment. I never knew what a steady bow meant. Till you came my way. Now, listen while I say musical note. Betty was singing the first song she composed. It was a sign for the thief, implying that despite stealing her necklace, he did not steal her spirit. Musical note: Eincha kinda glad? And Eincha kinda gay? When you hear me say I loves you. Oh, tell me, baby, Eincha. Musical note. As she sang, Betty began to move around the stage, moving her hips with each step, until she put her hands in a heart shape to emphasize her point. Musical note: and don't you kinda miss a little bit of bliss? When a hug or kiss I gives you. Oh, tell me, baby, don't ya? She hugged herself and started giving air kisses. Musical note. But Valerie saw that they were headed in his general direction, specifically at Naruto, and Valerie, being half badger, was territorial with his partner, so he hugged Naruto, putting his arms between her breasts, as if to emphasize his point. Musical note: pretty soon, there'll be a honeymoon. And to the preacher we will go. And in a year, maybe, honey dear. We'll have a boop boop a doop, boop boop a doop. Musical note. This time Betty was cradling her arms like she was holding a baby and rocking as she sang. Musical note: oh. Eincha kinda glad? And Eincha kinda gay? When you hear me say I loves you. Oh, tell me, baby, Eincha. Boop boop a doop. And didn't you used to say, that on some future day, that you'd buy lingerie for your little baby, huh? Oh, tell me, baby, didn't ya? Ooh. And can't you take me, please, down to Tiffany's? And buy some rings and things for your little baby, Oh, tell me, honey, can't ya? Now, if you don't then I'll get mad and I won't be nice and sweet to you. You know what I'll do? I'll get the blues. Then I'll refuse to boop boop-a-doop, boop boop-a-doop. Oh, when everything is set, ain't ya gonna get a parlor, kitchenette and twin beds, no? Oh, tell me, baby, ain't ya? And ain't ya willingly gonna neck with me? 'Cause it's plain to see that I loves ya. Oh, tell me, baby, bop-boppy-deo-pita, ain't ya? Musical note. Betty continued with her routine until the end of the song, where many people applauded her and others even got up to whistle at her, with some classic drawings transforming into the typical howling wolf. Other people applauded Coco and her great performance, making some smiles, making Coco happy, because she finally made people laugh. Meanwhile, our couple was sitting, applauding for the great performance of both of them, although Naruto had a hard time understanding why Valerie was jealous. After finishing her presentation, Betty and Coco got off the stage and the presenter got back on stage. Very incredible, Miss Boop, but no less was expected of you. But prepare yourselves because for the first time in a long time in the old glories we have a new actress. Few know her, but as soon as you meet her you will be amazed by her beauty. Welcome the one and only Jessica. Almost all the men whistled as soon as Jessica walked on stage. Jessica is a tall, voluptuous woman with a curvy, slim hourglass figure with a narrow waist and large, wide hips. She has light skin and long, luxurious orange hair with side bangs that usually cover her right eye. Her green eyes are thick-lidded and luscious with long dark lashes and accented by bright lavender eyeshadow. Her nose is quite small, especially in relation to her full, red lips. Her ensemble consists of a red sequin strapless dress that reveals plenty of cleavage with a low back, sweetheart neckline, and thigh slit. Additionally, we're matching red stilettos, elegant purple or blue opera gloves, and gold earrings. In this story he still doesn't know Roger. And slow music began to play. Musical note: you had plenty money, 1922. You let other women make a fool of you. Why don't you do right, like some other men do? Get out of here and get me some money too. Musical note. While singing he began to walk around the stage, in a slow and sensual way, moving his hips from one side to the other. Musical note: you're sitting down and wondering what it's all about. You ain't got no money, they will put you out. Why don't you do right, like some other men do? Get out of here and get me some money too. Musical note. He continued walking to the end of the platform, where he began to sit down little by little, still shaking his body slowly. Musical note: if you had prepared 20 years ago, you wouldn't be wandering from door to door. Why don't you do right, like some other men do? Get out of here and get me some money too. Musical note. A guy stood up from his seat as if to kiss Jessica, but she just put her finger on his lips and sat him down again, while she got up herself. Musical note: I fell for your jivine and I took you in. Now all you got to offer me's a drink of gin. Musical note. After getting up completely, he walked towards the beginning of the stage, to go down the small stairs, slowly giving a small bounce with each step. Musical note: why don't you do right, like some other men do? Get out of here and get me some money too. Why don't you do right, like some other men do? Like some other men do. Musical note. And while he was already down on stage he began to move and touch many men, provoking them and causing them to have a small problem between their pants. When he was about to approach our couple's table, everything stopped suddenly, everything turned black and white. And no one moved an inch, least of all Naruto, who advanced to a table in the background on the right side, where some characters with an old-fashioned animation style are located. As of the dates where Betty was first created. At first glance there was nothing suspicious about them, but Naruto still had a way of reading emotions and could feel jealousy coming from the woman, especially when observing that Betty, Coco and even Jessica were getting public attention. Naruto just frowned. Would what he feels be envy? Or something deeper? Then he has to find out who she is. But his 5 seconds were almost up, so he quickly moved towards the bar, where the presenter was standing with a list. 2. 1. Everything returned to normal, either recovering its color or starting to move. Valerie was confused. At what point did Naruto move? It was true that she herself was not a warrior with ultra-refined instincts, but she was enough to be able to feel that Naruto moved from her side. Jessica was just as lost. Even though she finished her song, the blonde boy moved and she didn't know when. At the same time, the two turned around looking for Naruto and saw him signing something that the presenter had. A big round of applause for Jessica and her presentation. Ladies and gentlemen, clap 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 was the noise that could be heard throughout the establishment. Yes people, let those applauses be heard everywhere. Welcome to the old glories, and we hope that it continues to be in this place that is your home. But today, my audience, there is a unique event for them to try to steal the heart of any of our stars. Almost all the men got excited, because having a chance with either of the two was something once in a lifetime, and they will wonder, which one is it? That unique opportunity? Simple, my dear audience, they are artists, and what better way to approach them than by demonstrating their artistic skills? Everyone stood up again. Here I have a list, sign, and you will be given your space to demonstrate your artistic skills. Everyone, men and women, went to register. Unfortunately there was only room for 20 people. 30 minutes later. Mon cher, why haven't you gone on stage yet? If you were the first to sign up, and that was true despite being the first, 7 more people had already passed. Because I didn't sign up just to sing, I'm analyzing something. While Naruto talks to Valerie, he continues to pay attention to the table in the back. His emotions are normal, since none of the participants has had a huge success and he needed to prove a theory. And if it wasn't for that, then why did Mon cher sign up? Get a better reading of people, ma bien aimé. Valerie tilted his head to the side. He didn't understand what he meant. I have a skill that allows me to read people's emotions. Normally I only read negative emotions. I explained to Valerie in more detail what I was doing. Oh mon cher, what an interesting ability. But why only the negative ones? The thing is that if I read the positive emotions plus the negative ones, it is as if I were reading their minds, in one way or another, and I don't like to think that I am manipulating people through their emotions. That was true for him, because at the same time knowing what a person was feeling at all times allowed him to discover how to manipulate that person emotionally. Incredible. Valerie suddenly narrowed her eyes at Naruto. You never used her on me, right Naruto? This time she was serious. She wouldn't like to find out that Naruto has manipulated her in one way or another. Of course not, ma bien aimé. It never occurred to me to use this with you, and it will never occur to me. I love you and respect you. That's why I promise you for our love that I will never use that with you. Oh mon cher, you always know what to say. Valerie was bringing her face closer to Naruto's to give him a kiss, while Naruto did the same towards her. When they were about to kiss, the presenter interrupted them. This has been a very eventful one. Give a round of applause to Roger Rabbit and his song I Love Carrots. Everyone applauded again, but without much encouragement, because for them the song was very childish. Even Jessica, who the song seemed nice, I had to accept that it was not the best to sing in this environment. Jessica and Betty are backstage, listening to all the performances and have been talking to each other. Now give a big round of applause to Naruto Uzumaki. Everyone applauded without much encouragement, because so far there was no decent performance. Instead Betty, along with Jessica, who was guided by the first, came out from behind and sat next to Valerie, where she just made a bad face towards the two of them. Thanks. What are they doing here? I would say upset with those two, because they tried to flirt with Naruto while they were on their date. We came to see Naruto sing. The one who spoke was Betty. I was dragged. Valerie still didn't like the situation, but he had to hold on for a while, because he couldn't attack them inside the establishment. Dear, if you have a problem with me, tell me straight. Jessica spoke in a derogatory way because she did not like Valerie's attitude. If there is something that bothers me about you, that you try to mess with my Naruto. If Naruto is the handsome blonde who was sitting next to you, let me tell you that no, just because they have drawn me this way does not mean that I am just anyone. Jessica spoke while frowning, and even if it were true that she tried to flirt with that Naruto, how does it affect you? Are they a couple? Valerie only turned his gaze to the side and then shook his head. Then that is a free man, and I can try to take a step and flirt with him. No. And who is going to stop me? Maybe you? If necessary. They began to hiss among themselves, and Betty was in an uncomfortable situation. It is true that she herself felt an attraction to Naruto, but not enough to try to flirt with him, and even less so now that she had the knowledge that Valerie liked him. From Naruto. Well, this song is called Being Evil Has a Price. The dispute was interrupted by Naruto, who was on stage with a guitar. Naruto is the one who vocalizes when they do quad A within the song. Musical note: is this the golden man that I run through? If I could give my thoughts across to you. $1 million for your sorrow, now you're paying for it. Think twice. Being evil has a price. Musical note. Everyone began to pay attention to Naruto, since he would be the first to have a good performance. Meanwhile, while playing the guitar, he walked around the stage. Musical note: I hear a lot of little secrets. Tell me yours, and I'll keep it. You want to know my name by now? Better think twice, 'cause being evil has a price. Musical note. The three girls opened their eyes, especially Valerie, because she was the one who knew Naruto the longest, and yet she never knew that he knew how to sing or play an instrument. Musical note: I start to wonder, is this real life? Blow out a candle, turn out the light. The cause of morals make you feel like you're better than it. Think twice. Being evil has a price. Musical note. While Naruto continues singing, he looks at the table of the group that interests him and can feel a peak of bad emotions coming from the woman. So he just narrowed his eyes, then smiled and put on a better show. Musical note: I hear a lot of little secrets. Tell me yours, and I'll keep it. You want to know my name by now? Better think twice, 'cause being evil has a price. Musical note. Now everyone started chanting with Naruto when he said quad A, and that at the same time increased the woman's bad emotions. Musical note: I got a nasty reputation. Now I feel the hesitation. Better think twice. 'Cause being evil has a price. Musical note. Musical note: being evil has a price. Musical note. Musical note: I hear a lot of little secrets. Tell me yours, and I'll keep it. You want to know my name by now? Better think twice. Being evil has a price. Musical note. Musical note: I got a nasty reputation. And I don't feel the hesitation. You better think twice. 'Cause being evil has a price. Musical note. And remember. Musical note: 'cause being evil has a price. Musical note. Everyone, from the waiters to the presenter, sang that last line with Naruto, even those at the back table, except the woman who came out with the most negative emotions ever. Bingo! Naruto could now confirm his first suspect. Clap clap clap, everyone applauds, satisfied with Naruto's performance, and he just gives a sly smile. 1 hour later. Valerie and Naruto were getting up to leave, because they had work tomorrow. Outside they were stopped by Betty and Jessica. Oh detective, you were fantastic, I never expected you to have that musical talent. Betty would say it in an animated way. Yes, Mr. Detective, it was fantastic, Jessica would say it, accentuating each word, giving a sensual touch. A certain Mr. Detective, why did you never tell me that you could sing? And Valerie was upset with Naruto for never telling her that detail about him. A-star platinum, the world. After that scream, Naruto disappeared from the place without leaving a trace. Oh my, what a naughty boy, isn't he, little badger? Of course, doll, but don't worry, tomorrow I'm going to educate him and let him learn not to evade questions. Jessica and Valerie looked at each other with daggers in their eyes, and Betty could swear she felt an aura of death coming from the two of them, so being smart and thinking of her own self-preservation, she slowly walked away from the two. Naruto Department 11:30 p.m. Sigh, this was close, and that was Naruto's thought for about 3 seconds. Tomorrow I'm going to regret it, right? Tom and Jerry night . It was a beautiful night in Toonopolis, and they were both dressed in bright green and blue suits. They walked with confidence until they arrived at Wild Nights. It was a club where only animals or pseudo-animals were allowed. It's one of the best places if you're one of those things: good drinks, good food, and a great atmosphere. Do they hate humans and that's why they're not allowed in? No, it was just a place for them to enjoy themselves without being judged by their fellow humans. And so the two of them entered, passing by a dog that checked them from top to bottom. When he saw that they were authentic, he only put a bracelet on them so they could enter. Once inside, the club was lively, some were dancing, others were drinking at the tables, and a few were kissing in the background. The two of them just grabbed a small table, ordering a drink each. Tom took advantage of seeing a white cat and approached to flirt. Jerry just shook his head, but he, using his tiny size and noise, moved around all the tables listening to what was being said at each table. Table 1. And it turns out that the baby is not his, but rather his rival's. Oh, I did know that was going to happen. Tremendous bitch. It was interesting, but not what I was looking for. Table 2. And if it turns out that the plan failed? I told them it was going to fail. We couldn't trust anything that came from that guy. If it's a vermin, we told you, but you're no guys. We have to learn to trust and forgive. This table was more interesting than the previous one, but nothing worth it. Table 3. If it turns out that getting into that apartment was easier than it seemed, ha ha ha, and the money they will give me for that necklace will be completely worth it. But why did she want that necklace to be stolen? What do I know? I only know that they are going to pay me for that tomorrow. From the beginning, Jerry began to write everything in his notebook. This was valuable information. But shouldn't you be more discreet with this? What's wrong? The police are not investigating. That necklace is worth less than my watch, and they are going to pay me $250,000. Jerry had to confirm that it was a crow, so taking a risk, he got closer to the person speaking and picked up a black feather. Bingo now just had to go in. He couldn't finish his thought because he was picked up by the crow guy. Oh, didn't they teach you not to spy on other people's conversations, little one? Jerry could only get nervous, so he bit the hand of the guy who let him go and ran away. Catch that mouse! Jerry ran throughout the club, getting lost among the other animals, until he reached Tom and hid in his pants. The cat got scared and looked at his left leg when he saw Jerry come out and signaled to him not to say anything and to come out. He just lowered his shoulders and listened to his partner. Maybe the cat had gone with another and he was alone dancing out of boredom. He learned the lesson from his grandfather, who almost died on the train tracks because of his grandmother. That was saved. And that was how they arrived at the same time as Naruto, considering that they walked slowly enjoying the peaceful night air. Naruto Department 11:35 p.m. Did they get anything? Tom shook his head, but Jerry raised his notebook, where all the crow's talk was written down. Well done, Jerry. Did you get more information? Jerry made the sign to turn the page and Naruto listened to his friend and continued reading. So tomorrow the thief meets with the mastermind. Naruto was serious. Tomorrow was the delivery and it would most likely be more difficult later. Capture the criminals. Do you know where or what time the delivery is? Jerry just shook his head because they shut up before they got to that. Click. Well, they did amazing and tomorrow we have to meet with Betty to get a clue in the morning. For now let's go to sleep. This is how they ended the day. Betty's department 7 a.m. Betty was in her nightgown, which left a bit of her breasts exposed and was short, barely covering her thighs. Mr. Detective, I know I needed that list early, but did it really have to be so early? She was still a little sleepy, because yesterday was Jessica's debut. They lasted until 4 in the morning at the club. I'm afraid to say that yes, Miss Betty, last night the boys found out that the thief will deliver the jewels today to the person who hired him. Naruto spoke seriously. That's terrible, Mr. Detective. Betty was now scared. More than you think, Betty. If they make the exchange successful, it will be almost impossible for you to get your necklace back. Oh my God, how horrible. Betty was letting out a few small tears. Because she can lose that necklace that is so important to her. Like the day before, Jerry gave him some tissues to wipe his tears. Thank you, dear. Wiping away a few tears, he went in search of his bag, where he had kept the list that Naruto had asked for. The list had the specifications that Naruto gave him, people close to him who recognized the necklace, but not where he keeps it. In it were Mother Goose, Popeye, Pluto, Olivia. Only those 4 people recognized the necklace? This was serious. He knew that Popeye and Pluto were not there, because on the night of the robbery it was their big fight that reduced it to just 2 people, Olivia and Mother Goose. Yes, Mr. Detective, those 4 were the closest people I had in my beginnings, and it was true, he had collaborations with all of them. Naruto just narrowed his eyes, and this last question would be crucial. Miss Betty, I know this question will make you uncomfortable, but did Olivia also have color surgery? That made Betty blush. In their beginnings, like many cartoons, they were black and white, but after color arrived, the color operation was invented. Where redundancy is worth, she added colors to them to improve their aesthetics, along with one that another touch-up improves its appearance. Toss, Mr. Detective, that question is not asked of a lady. Now I am not talking to a lady, but to a client from whom I am asking for information to be able to resolve her case. Naruto would say it with such a cold tone that even the boys had a shiver. It was not normal to see Naruto serious, but yes, it was that all the gods, demons, immortals, or whatever you believe will take care of you. Betty felt a little bad about how Naruto spoke to her. She understood that it was urgent for her to give that information, but it was still very cruel. That made her immediately lose whatever little interest she had in Naruto. She wanted a good, patient man, who would never give up, who would always be there for her, like Coco. Maybe she should give her old friend a chance. Miss Betty, I need you to answer me. Oh right, you haven't given your answer yet. Oh sorry, Mr. Detective, I was distracted by something. If Olivia had the color operation, where does Mother Goose live? Was she the one who stole my necklace? Sad that one of his closest acquaintances did that to him. The truth is that I don't know Betty, but I have a suspicion that she may be it. But I can't accuse her with a theory. I need to investigate it, and it was true he couldn't accuse her without definitive proof. After Betty gave them her address, they left the apartment and asked for a taxi to take them to Mother Goose. Mother Goose house 8 a.m. The taxi left them in front of Mother Goose's house. It was a middle-class neighborhood, but it was a good place to live and enjoy their life. So the boys approached the door, but when they were about to knock they heard a roar. Naruto gave a signal to Tom and Jerry to go around the back. Meanwhile he knocked on the door himself. Tock tock tock. Who? The voice came from behind the door. Good morning, does Mother Goose live here? So a door opened and there was the woman he saw last night at the club. She was like Betty's counterpart, not in beauty, because on that side the two could be considered beauties, only that Betty is a young beauty with her childish and jovial attitude. On the other hand, Mother Goose was more of a mature and elegant beauty. I am Mother Goose. The voice and tone reflected what was previously said, maturity and elegance. Nice to meet you, madam. I am a private detective, hired by Miss Betty for a robbery. Mother just raised an eyebrow. I understand, but why did you come to my young home? I'm visiting Betty's close friends to ask for information about possible rivals. Contemptuous smile. And it seems to you that I am a close friend. Please. After she became famous she forgot about herself and her roots. Did you know that she was one of the first to do the color operation? I didn't know, but apparently you didn't do it yourself. Believe me, young man, if I had the opportunity to see myself more beautiful, defined and with true colors, I would do it, but I don't have that opportunity. He spoke this time with bitterness. Oh yes, what stopped her? I'm not the unfortunate Betty. Boop. I don't move my hips so that men drool like pigs. I'm not shaking my ass to attract perverts. He noticed some resentment towards Miss Betty. It's not resentment, it's the simple truth. She obtained fame easily, without effort and sacrifice. He does not deserve it, and even less so because of his low value. I try to educate children to be good men of tomorrow. It only serves to give an embarrassing spectacle to lustful adults. It has to be difficult, right? Knowing that all your effort went to waste just because you weren't a doll. Yes, her and that new witch Jessica, who is only successful because of how she looks, but not because of her performance. Which is just moving your hips suggestively. I think she sang very well, and it's not her fault that they created her like that. I thought you were going to be different, but you are the same as all those men on the day of their debut. Mother looked closer at Naruto's face. Oh, I already remember you. You were the one who had the best performance. No. How did those 5 minutes of fame feel? The poison he put in that question was enough to kill anyone. Better than one thinks, but we digress too much. I wanted to know if you know a possible enemy of Betty. Mr. Detective, I already told you, I don't know Betty well enough to know who would hurt her. I don't know and I don't care who stole her pearl necklace. I just know that I'm happy that she suffers. I understand, Miss Goose, but you know something curious. That? I never mentioned that a pearl necklace was stolen from her, and neither did the media. Betty told me. Didn't you just say that they aren't close enough? They had to look inside the house, because a noise was heard and the two saw where it came from, to see a crow man knocked out and Tom holding the pearl necklace. Mother Goose became angry and nervous. And he only did the first thing that came to mind to escape, and that was to take out a knife and try to stab Naruto in the stomach, and he succeeded. Unfortunately, it was too late. Well, Naruto had his index finger crossed with the middle finger of his hand, and with the following phrase the confrontation ended. Domain expansion, Muriokusho. Before you ask, where are we? Let me answer you. We are in the immeasurable void, is a literal void of space that seems to take you to the very center of the universe within human knowledge. That is, the technique is responsible for creating an unlimited space, where everyone except me can see and feel everything, but the information they receive is endless. Naruto would be explaining his technique to everyone, from the crow who woke up after hearing Naruto's words, to Tom and Jerry who were equally paralyzed. If you are wondering how do I have this technique? Let me tell you, it was a gift, or rather an adaptation. It turns out that this world is governed by the law of the absurd, or as many prefer to call it Toon Force, and it turns out that right here in Toonopolis is where people capable of using it to a greater or lesser extent normally live. But that doesn't mean that it affects everyone, it's just that in this city it is more powerful and common. For my part, I do not belong to this world. I am an invader, and the world itself denied my existence and was about to disappear because the world was rewriting my existence. Well, I come from a different filmography than yours. The people who normally live in this world come from cartoons or Western animation. I, on the other hand, come from anime or Oriental animation, and during the rewriting process my will to continue living superseded the will of the world itself. In the process I also lost my best friend, but he managed to return to our home safe and sound. Or at least I hope so. But by not becoming part of this world and accepting its laws, I created my own. Laws that allow me to live in this world and be the strongest. To that force of nature to which I am the only one who can access, I named her Epic Force, which allows me to use any power, ability or technique that comes from my filmography. So I'm going to give you two options, Mother. You give up and accept defeat, or I force you to accept it. Now blink once if you surrender, or twice if you want to fight. Mother Goose only blinks once, signifying that he gives up. Good girl. _McDuck and Associates 12 p.m. _. After that we called the police. They took the crow and Mother Goose. Miss Betty arrived and we returned the pearl necklace. Naruto would be telling Valerie everything that happened while they ate at the reception. Incredible, mon cher, really incredible how you made her fall, but the truth is I feel a little sorry. She really felt sorry for Miss Goose. ****, me too, Valerie, me too. But that fall was his own fault. It is true that she entered a self-destructive cycle by not advancing further in this life, but that does not justify her trying to hurt Betty just because she wanted to make her suffer what is just in this life. You're right about that, mon cher. She was the one who hurt herself, and she wouldn't discuss that with anyone. And they were interrupted by the arrival of Betty with Coco holding hands. Oh, Mr. Detective, it's right here, fine. I came to pay for the good service you offered me and to thank you for helping me solve the case. Don't worry, Miss Betty, you hired me for that and I was going to do my duty. Well, speaking of business, here's the payment plus a little extra. I would give you an envelope with money. See you later, Detective. I hope the next time we meet it will be under better circumstances. Likewise, Miss Betty. After that, Betty would turn around to leave, still holding hands with Coco. Good luck with your relationship, Miss Betty. Thank you, dear, and good luck with yours too. They look cute together, don't they, mon cher? Mon cher? Valerie would turn around to see Naruto captured holding the open money envelope. Mon cher, what's wrong with you? Mon cher reacts. This is not funny, he would say while shaking him. M.D. dollars. Could you repeat it louder please? He gave me $2,000, ma bien-aimée gave me $2,000, he would say while hugging Valerie and starting to spin. Oh mon cher, what great happiness, she would say it happily for her lover while hugging him back. Just when Naruto stops spinning, he slowly lowers himself until he leaves Valerie on the floor. Both of them being hugged and with their faces very close, they did what they have been wanting to do for a long time, and that was to kiss. It wasn't something lustful or too explicit, it wasn't a desperate kiss either, it was just the kiss of two people who loved each other with all their hearts. And the scene ends when they hear a click and see that it was Jerry who had a camera and Tom was wiping his tears with some tissues. They only blushed for having had an audience. But they were still happy, because they finally got what they had been looking for a long time. While Naruto held Valerie in his arms from behind, she just turned around and buried her face in Naruto's chest. Our first kiss mon cher, I would say it happy and excited. Yes, and it won't be the last ma bien-aimée. While saying that, he brought their bodies closer. And in the end both cat and mouse took out a sign that said 1,000 points out of 10.